Good morning, everyone. You're doing well today. It's a sunny day. It's going to be nice and warm, and Effingham County is a great place to be. We can't always see each other and be together. We're doing the best we can at this time. Today, we appreciate you joining us for this webinar with Dan Woods. I'll introduce Dan in just a few minutes, but a few housekeeping things. There's a chat box. Please ask any questions that you have in that chat box as through the webinar. Dan will address those at the end of the webinar. So the topic today is what's next and transitioning what we all consider to be the new normal as we slowly open up our businesses again. And as we've been operating for about 2 months now, just a different way that we've been doing business. So I know that we've got a lot of people on the call on the conference today, which we appreciate. And I know that Dan's worked very hard to put together a great presentation for you. So let me introduce Dan Woods to you. Dan says it's lonely at the top. For 7 years, he has been working with business owners and their teams to improve decision-making under pressure and improve business results. In these unprecedented times, managing your response to stress, improving your decision-making and behavior is critical so that you give your best to your business, your family, and your community. The stakes are high to make decisions and take action, often with limited information or assurance of the outcome, and with conflicting agendas from stakeholders. Dan Woods serves business owners, CEOs, executives, and rising stars as a leadership coach. He leads the Leaders Advisory Board, also known as the Lab, and the Emerging Leaders Institute. Dan is the former chief executive of 3 award-winning hospitals. His 30 years of dynamic leadership and training is built upon degrees from Blackburn College and the University of Michigan. Dan is a member of the Effingham Toastmasters Club, Noon Rotary, the Chamber of Commerce Business Outreach Center, and his wife Angela and they're members of St. Anthony of Padua Church. So all the way from Lake Sarah, Illinois, please join me in welcoming Dan Woods.
Just get my screen shared with you here for a moment. Imagine, if you will, you're a 6-year-old boy or a 9-year-old girl living in your house, only in your house. It's like being grounded, yet you didn't do anything wrong. You're in your house, can't see your friends, can't go to the store with a parent, can't walk down the street or go to the park. You're grounded in the house for 45 days. And then finally, they tell you you can go outside for 1 hour. And that's it. Now, I don't know about you, but I grew up, I'm one of 8 children. So my house was already pretty small. I would be just like these kids you see on your screen. I'd be running, I'd be climbing the walls. I'd be doing anything I could. What would you do? So this is Spain. Back at the end of April, about 2 weeks ago. And the children of Spain, after 45 days of being locked down literally in their homes, children under 13 were allowed to go outside for 1 hour a day. Spain had the tightest lockdown in all of Europe. 2 weeks later, they still are regulating the amount of time boys and girls, adults, senior citizens can be out of their homes. And it's a challenge. Now, you and I, similarly, we have been now for 2 months, actually 2 months yesterday is when our governor announced that schools would be closing. And not only with feeling locked down, but also being limited in what we can do, being limited in how we can even share our frustrations, our feelings, our emotions. So today, hopefully, it's going to be nice outside, as Norma said. You can get outside and breathe some air and feel, even for a little while, free at last. Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you to the Chamber of Commerce for inviting me to share this webinar with you. I also want to say thank you to Dent Law Offices. I understand they're our sponsor this morning, so thanks to them. So 2 weeks since we've been shut down, 2 weeks since we've been sheltered in place. And before I go into my presentation, I want you to do two things. I want everyone on this call, on the webinar, to do two things. First, take a deep breath. Go ahead, breathe in slowly. And then out. There you go. That felt good for you. Second thing I'd like you to do is, if you have video capability, go ahead and turn your video on. You see, most of you don't have your video on, and I'm going to see if I can even adjust my view here a little bit. So go ahead and put your video on. I realize everyone's got different devices, different systems. But you see, one thing that's so important right now is that we need each other. You know, this presentation today, what's the new normal? Well, normal isn't sitting in our bedrooms, living room, basements, our offices, if you're at your place of work or not, and simply listening to the phone. It's about being in a room full of others. We have, as humans, we have a hunger for connection, and that is so important. And the reality is, many of us have been experiencing grief. We've been angry, we've been frustrated, we've been sad, we've been worried about our health, about the health of people that we love. We've been limited in so many ways that we can't even express our emotions sometimes. You know, you can't just go around the house kicking the dog or yelling at your kids. And your kids, yes, if you have school-aged children, they've been home now for 2 months. You've taken on the teacher's role, if you're a parent, along with everything else that you have to do. And we've missed a lot. We not only miss our friends, we've missed birthdays, we've missed Mother's Day, we've missed graduations, we missed Easter in our churches. And on and on and on, but I don't have to tell you that. But guess what? In addition to you and I, who else is missing what's going on? Who else is feeling that grief, that frustration, that sadness, that anger, that sense of worry because we don't know what's going on? Are your employees. And I really hope that your business has been able to weather the financial runway that it's needed to get this far. There's more to come, as well as you and your family and people that work with you are staying healthy. Those are really important. But today, our focus is going to be on how to get you back to work, not dealing so much with the health issues or the financial. Those are other topics, and certainly very, very important ones. But the thing you have to think about is, even if you could get back to work today, if everything suddenly opened up, there's a lot of work to be done. And that'll be our focus this morning. So today, in the little time that we have, I'm going to cover quite a bit. Things I will just touch on, but don't worry about that. I've got a resource to share with you if you have more interest beyond our hour together today. So today you will learn, and I will leave you with how to recognize and prepare your team to respond, whether you're a CEO or you manage one other person in your business. I want to leave you with some tools and a process you can use to help everybody, including yourself, get back to work. I'm going to cover a little bit briefly the dynamics of change. Very important for you to understand if you don't already. And then I want to make sure you leave with some insights and some ideas on how to assess and reevaluate the opportunities that you do have in front of you, because there is so much change. There's a lot of dirt stirred up. There's a lot of opportunity out there amidst the challenges. And then I'm also going to challenge you with a lot of questions, things that I want you to take back to your business, to your coworkers, to your board, your senior leadership team, so that you can really dig into and see what is it that I, as a leader of my company, of my department, of my team, what is it that I should be asking myself and our team so that we can move forward and be successful the way that you deserve to. So that'll be our focus today. And those questions, by the way, I'm going to cover a few of them. I've got a list of over 40, I think, very valuable questions to ask you. So after the webinar today, if you want that entire list, I put something together that I call my Jumpstart Kit, and I will be happily to email that to you by the end of the weekend. So why a Jumpstart? What's that all about? You might be thinking to yourself, I'm ready to go. What do I need a Jumpstart for? Well, I use that analogy. I remember my very first car. It was a 1962 Plymouth. And the day I got it is the day I learned how to jump a car. And I think if you want to look at your company in a similar way to a Jumpstart, with that car, first thing I had to do is I had to assess what was the problem? Why is my car not running? And there was a lot of different reasons my car would have maybe not ran those early days. You know, was it out of gas? That happened a lot. Was it out of oil? Because that car burnt a lot of oil. Was there an issue with the battery, an alternator? What else? I was a new driver. I had no clue on it. So I had to assess the situation like you need to do with your company and your business. Secondly, I had to make sure, do I know what I'm doing? Am I capable? Do I have the resources to get this thing going? Do I now know how to jump a car? Do I have cables? With a phone call, do I have a buddy available to bring his car or his truck here so that I can get my car running? Do I know what I'm doing and can I put a plan together? And then thirdly, and we're working at home and that's a landline ringing behind me. Hope it doesn't distract you too much. So much for robocalls. The third thing I had to do was then create a plan. Once I knew of the resources I had and the capabilities, do I have a plan to go forward? Now today, if I needed to jump, my plan would also include looking at the environment around me. Am I stranded on the interstate? Am I in a parking lot? Am I in my driveway? That may include actually calling for help, whether it's a friend to give me a jump or the motor club, AAA. So like your business, you have a lot of options and you shouldn't be doing any of this alone. So why a Jumpstart? Think about your business. There's a lot of inertia going on right now. You know, it takes 8 times the same amount of energy to move an object that's sitting still than one that's in motion. You know, here we are sitting at home. You know, I asked you at the beginning of the call if you had the capability to put video on. Some of you did, thank you very much. Some of you still haven't. So like your employees, are we getting a little lax in our ways? Did maybe you forget to shave or not do your makeup? Hopefully no one's in their pajamas. If you are, good for you. But whatever the case is, there's a lot of inertia that's happened over these last 2 months. And even if your business is essential, and even if you're working full bore, you've shifted your dynamics, you've shifted your focus. There's other things going on you have to take a look at. That's why baseball and so many other professional sports teams have spring training. It's to get the rust out. It's to get things moving again. In addition to that, there's a lot of stress. I've already mentioned that a few times. I don't have to tell you that. But we have cabin fever in a way. You know, we certainly have a fear of the unknown. People are, worrying about their coworkers if they're not seeing them, or maybe they're furloughed, or maybe they know they're already let go. They're worried, am I going to come back to work? They're worried, what will my job be if I come back? Maybe they don't want to come back. And if they're working for a business that is very busy, FedEx, I know it's been like Black Friday for FedEx since Black Friday. I mean, they slowed down and then boom, by mid-March, tax returns and then close in and everyone's ordering online. FedEx, UPS, the post office, those people are running ragged. They may be burning out. Just talk to your local septic company person lately. They're very, very busy. People are killing the bacteria in their septic systems with too much bleach or filling it up with all kinds of things. So many businesses are even going full bore. So you have to be concerned, and your employees are, about burnout. So that needs a jump start. And then just the declining brain power. If you think of typically children are home for summer break for 2+ months, and multiple studies have shown that without activity, without keeping this muscle working, there's atrophy, just like any other muscle in our bodies. A good physical therapist, a good occupational therapist will work with you to get those muscles working again. So there's a lot of things you need to look at to jumpstart your business. It starts with your people. And right now, your people, they may not be at their best. You, as their leader, you need to be. You need to be at your best. So how do we begin that? We've got to reconnect. Just like jumping a car, we've got to reconnect those cables. You're the leader, you've got the energy, you've got to transfer that energy to your people. You've got to help them get moving and get energized. So how do you do that? Someone's going to say, Dan, that slide says meet with your team. Another meeting? Really? Come on. Yes, we need to connect. We are people that need other people. If God wanted us to be alone, he would have given each of us our own planet. But he didn't do that. Just like your company. Right now, I'm a company of one. I'm useless by myself. It's hard enough sometimes talking to a screen, knowing that you guys are out there, but we need that connection. We need to be in the same place. So who do you meet with when you want to get your business back going? And if you've been meeting, good for you, continue to do that. My suggestion is to first start with a trusted core, an initial core of people. Again, wide variation of your businesses, your services, your locations, how you operate in the old world. So it's going to vary. If you have a board of directors or a senior leadership team or a top management team, or maybe you just have a trusted group of peers, start with that small core that you can begin to focus on. Then begin to meet with, whether you meet with department heads or your departments or everybody if you're a small enough business, but you want to roll out your meeting and your discussions. When do you do that? I'd say as soon as possible. Even if you are thinking you're going to open your business in 2 weeks or 28 days or whatever that might happen, or even gradually, meet now. Have a pre-planning meeting or series of meetings. If you have to meet virtually like this, if you're able to meet face-to-face in a large enough room where you're keeping physical distance, wonderful, but meet. And why? Like I said, people are hungry for something familiar. They want that comfort. They want to be able to see and connect again with you and the people that they know. And yes, believe it or not, people that work with you, they even miss the jerk who leaves a mess around the coffee machine. People want familiar, and right now we're lacking that because things are thrown so out of sorts. So what do you meet about? I have on the slide there for you a sample agenda. And don't worry, you don't have to try to scribble all this down. Go ahead if you're a great note taker. But I mentioned I'll send you, if you send me an email after this is over, something I'm calling a jumpstart kit. And I've got this put together. I'm happy to email it to you. I'll include this sample agenda just to give you an idea. But some points here I'm just going to touch on briefly. What do you meet about? Well, first, and very important, you need to reconnect if you haven't already. And even if you've been meeting by phone or by Zoom or Hangouts or something with some of your team, you've got to reconnect. And when I say reconnect, you've got to debrief people. You've got to let them vent. You've got to let them let go of the grief that they're sharing, as well as share some good news. I mean, you all know this. If this glass of water was full to the top, and I'm the boss, and I want to share a bunch of new information. Here's how we're going to get going. This is what we're going to do, and we're going to contact our customers, and we're going to go team. If this glass is full, and I'm one of your employees, I'm deer in the headlights. There's no room for any more information to come in. So you got to let them empty some of that out. We've got to empty some of this out and vent. Now, a suggestion I have for you, if you're familiar with Toastmasters at all, Toastmasters meetings focus on communication and leadership. They have an excellent little process called table topics. In table topics, each person in the room, kind of a round robin, goes around, but they answer a specific question. And this may be a way for you as leader of that meeting to facilitate it so it doesn't just turn into, basically a bitch session or a gripe session. So you target a question towards your team. You give everybody a chance. In Toastmasters, it's 3 minutes to share something specific. And there's a lot of good news people haven't been able to share with you and their coworkers these 2 months as well. So create that opportunity to connect so that we can have the familiarity, that connection, and be people again with each other. So important. Other things that you want to do then is, as a leader, you need to reassure them. What is the process that we're going to use as our company to reassess our market? Even if we open our doors, does that mean customers are going to come in? If we have to physically distance workflow of employees or customers if they come into your store, your restaurant, your clinic, your office, whatever it might be, how do you do that? Let your employees know how you plan to go about that so they can be included if that's hopefully your culture. And how does that impact your vision and strategy? Here we are, May 14th. We're almost, 5/16, 5/12, so much for math in my head, through the year. But we're well into the year. What do your 2020 goals look like? How do you readjust those? How are you going to readjust those? So again, this is where I'd say you start with your initial core, your senior leadership team, but then roll it out to the rest of your team if you have 20 or 200 or 1,000 employees, whatever it might be. But let them be included. At some point, you need to share with them what is your new, and yes, it's going to be evolving vision for your company. What does it look like? I think the biggest challenge we have right now, whether it's the back to business plan that our legislators have proposed, our county looked at and issued at least a resolution about yesterday, the plan from our governor, the president's plan. These are great thoughts and plans, but there's no certainty. And since we began, the goalposts have continued to move. So you have the opportunity to be a leader to your team to let them know, here's the plan. And honestly, even with your vulnerability, be honest, be clear. What you don't know, let them know what you don't know. Because that gives them some certainty. That allows them to trust you. Trust is something that is so important right now. For them and you and them. That then allows you to begin to build out your strategies, your plans, your guidelines. Very important to have a communication plan, not only for your employees, but obviously for your customers, for all of your stakeholders, for those key people that make a big difference to your business. And then, of course, you need to make sure, even before you get back, and even if you're back as an essential business, you may not have had as much business or activity in your workplace. You haven't had salesmen and suppliers coming in. You need to really look and make sure your place is safe for everybody. And one of the things in that back to work plan, it did give a lot of detailed suggestions. Your best source, and hopefully you're already in touch with that, is your industry group. whatever that is, whether that's manufacturing, food service, human services, whatever that is. Use your industry to give you those guidelines on how to make sure your place is safe for everybody. And then identify what you need to do before you start. And if you're already starting, how can you ramp up? Restaurants have a great model, it's called a soft opening. If you have that opportunity, do a soft opening. Open up, but don't advertise right away. The radio, newspaper, etc. advertisers, they can wait another day or two for your revenue dollars because you'll be coming back. This quote I saw the other day from economist Brian Wesbury: the U.S. economy is not Sleeping Beauty, ready to wake up at the first kiss by the government. Really leaves it up to you as a leader. It won't happen on its own. You've got to lead that change. Why do you have to lead it? Because it's scary. Your employees, you yourself, your family, we don't really know what's behind that wall. There's not a vaccine yet. There may not be for quite a while. Still very little testing even in our area. Thank God we don't have a lot of confirmed cases. We don't have many people very, very ill in our part of the state. But without a lot of testing, we also don't know exactly where and what's lurking around the next door. So we need to be mindful of that. So change, I'm just going to walk through this model very briefly for you. But it's something that I've seen and I've used for quite a while. A gentleman by the name of Nito Cobain put this in an article a number of years ago. And one of the things Nito said is that people will change if the alternative is worse than the change. So we all now take our shoes off before we get on an airplane because the alternative was we didn't get to fly. Ironically, we've been doing that for almost 20 years. Sometimes change is forced. Sometimes change takes, as it describes in the slide here, some softening. We need to root out the old ways. People need to see the new way is better than the old way, or at least the old way has a stigma connected to it that, you know what, I don't want that old way. Excuse me, I used to smoke many years ago. I smoked in restaurants. That was normal. People smoked everywhere in office buildings. People smoked at hospitals, doctors' offices. Can you imagine? Today, people still smoke, yet it would be pretty shocking to see somebody light up in Nemours restaurant, the Firefly, or any restaurant at McDonald's, because of the stigma attached to that. So we've rooted out the old ways with smoking. That's just a couple examples to give you how that works. And the virus has really softened things up. It's kind of forced a lot of change on us. So you have the opportunity to see what changes you want to continue to make, what changes you don't like, and perhaps revert back to either the old way or, better yet, an evolution of what you used to do that's even better. That's the reshaping. You want to be able to implant new ways. And this is where you as a leader really come in, because it takes encouragement. It takes positive focus and support, and it takes a lot of education with your workforce. And those of you that have been in business more than a couple of years, leading a team, know that it takes a lot of training to get people to change their ways, whether you're changing a production line in a printing plant or a manufacturer, or rerouting something, a workflow that you have because you want to improve your efficiencies. So that takes a lot of work. It usually often takes even someone from the outside to help you do that and guide that. And it takes some experimentation. Test things, try things out. If your employees are part of the solution, it'll work a lot smoother for you. And then the third stage is restabilizing. That's when the new ways become natural. My example about smoking or taking our shoes off, we don't really think about it anymore. It's just part of our natural way of going about things. So that's how those three things can really work for you. Two things to remember. One is a habit, good or bad, takes typically 21 days. Either form a new habit, quit an old habit. Rehab takes a lot longer, so be patient, be respectful, be aware of what's going on around you. And as the leader, what's most important is how you show up, where you are in your mindset, where you are in your heart, in your respect and your care of your people. How you show up every moment is going to make a huge difference, because you were always what the employees looked at, your coworkers looked at. They're going to be looking at you even more now because of what the changes that we've gone through. So how you show up is very important. And especially, again, your employees are worried about that unknown. Don't be that gremlin behind the door. They want to see their hero walk out. So how do you prepare for the new normal? And what is it that you can be doing in these meetings? How do you reassess your business? And it is your business, and it's still yours. And you may be feeling like people are taking away your rights, or you're not able to do this or that, and there's too many restrictions. As a leader, we want to be in control. I know, I've been accused of being a control freak many times. We want to be in control. Your employees, they want to be comfortable. They want to know what's familiar. They want to trust. So you've got to work with them, but it's your business. You get to decide, even if things have changed. You get to decide what goes on and how that looks. It's been like a tornado came through and you're in that car that you got jumped. It's running. But what do you do with it? You might be all revved up, ready to go. You've now got your employees charged a little bit. There's a little bit of energy there. So what are we charged around? Jim Collins says you want to engage those around you. You got to be honest. You got to face the brutal facts ahead. And then you've got to know. And they're going to look to you for that confidence. Know that you will prevail. Again, this is where you don't do it alone. Use those people in your life, your trusted circle of peers, others that you can rely upon. But what you really have the opportunity to do now, whether you wanted it or not, is to reimagine your business. What changes do you want to make? What stays the same? What have you changed that you want to keep the same? What do you want it to look like? You really do have a blank slate. We have that every day. We usually lose sight of that. But you have a blank slate right now. What do you want to draw your picture to look like? What's your mosaic? Some of the resources have changed. Some of the paint colors may be available to you are different. Pieces of tile. What do you want to do with it? It's up to you. You can do that. So I'm going to give you a series of questions, and I'm even going to have a couple slides. I'm not going to read every single one of those on there for you. But I really encourage you to take some time, make some time to work on your business, away from your business, so that you can really take a close look at what's most important to you. Whether you're the CEO or you're a frontline person, what's most important for you in your role at the place where you work? But here's a great question to ask everybody, including your children. What new skill have you learned? We've been home for 2 months, 6 to 8 weeks, or at least a new environment. Even if you're working every day, what new skill have you learned? Great question. But here's some questions for you to jumpstart your business and jumpstart your own thinking, get that inertia going. And again, if you're leading a business, I know you haven't stopped going at all. You may not have slept nights. You've been thinking about a lot of these questions. You've been worried. Can I pay my bills? Can I meet payroll? Can I keep my employees? So these questions will help you design that vision, those strategies, and get you focused on what's really what you want for your company or your department, whatever it is that you run. And the first one is, what is your vision? If you look out only 12 months, whether that's 12 months from now or 12 months from July 1st, whenever you and your business are, if you will, whatever fully open means. And then do a SWOT analysis. Even if it's a short-term SWOT analysis for the next 12 to 18 months, what are your strengths? What weaknesses have revealed themselves? What was hanging by a thread that's now broken off? What are those weaknesses? What are the opportunities out there? And some of these questions will dig into that. What are the threats that have been revealed? Did you not have, a financial emergency fund like Dave Ramsey's always recommended? What are those things that have come to the surface that maybe you were just too busy to deal with before? Now they're there. It's a great time to deal with them and face them. What can you do to keep the main thing the main thing? If you like the movie, I lost track of it now, Billy Crystal. I know you guys are all unmuted, so someone probably yelled that out already. They're the Cowboys.
Tenderfeet, right? Tenderfeet?
Say that again?
Tenderfeet?
No, not Tenderfeet. That's okay.
Okay.
No, these guys, they go to a dude ranch to get away, get their 2 weeks of freedom out of their busy life. And Curly is the old wrestler, cowhand at the ranch. And Billy Crystal asks him, Curly, what's the secret of life? Here you are in this beautiful land. Everything's wonderful. What's the secret of life? And, Curly holds his hand. And Billy Crystal says, what, your glove? He says, no, one thing. What's that one thing that's most important to you in your life and in your business? What is the main thing? What's your core business? Businesses that have been around for a long time, we've added lots of stuff, lots of services, new products, new services, new things to do. We've kept things that we did 20 years ago only because someone did it 20 years ago, and we still do it. So it's important to really look at what is it that you want to keep doing and what do you want to let go of. Like I said, there's a number of questions here. This top one I think is really important for all of you, regardless of your business. If you sell something, a service, a product, what is the new mindset of your consumers and your customers? What are they looking for? What's their experience they're looking for? Disney overseas opened the other day. I can't imagine the Disney experience wearing face masks, and I haven't seen any video clips yet, but can't imagine being 6 feet apart from people in line at Disney. Either there's only a few people there or what, but again, you've got to reimagine what's that experience that your customers, you want to give to them, not that they're going to have. In the bottom of this page, very, very important, I've referenced it already. What are you testing? What services are new? What products? What processes? What strategies are you experimenting with? I was talking in the conversation with some gentlemen yesterday about opening up our churches again. Somebody already took the time to kind of calculate out physically, if you had every other pew and how many people could fit in a pew or how many families, but even the flow. Okay, what do you do at the entrances? What do you do at the exits? You've got to think through that, but test it out. See how that might work for you. And, take it to the, if you will, laboratory. Lab, by the way, stands for the Leaders Advisory Board. That's what we do in that peer group of chief executives, business owners, and general managers. Is we use each other in a safe place to test out. Sometimes they're half-baked out ideas. But what a great way to do that before you go live. So how you show up as a leader is very important. And then ask yourself, how are your actions reinforcing your mission, your values? Because your values for your company and you as a person, that's the anchor that you have to hold on to keep you solid, to keep you grounded. And that's where your employees, your customers, your supplier, your board members, your peers, your partners, that's what they have to rely on. So hopefully your values are strong and you continue to work on them. They're just not something on your website or a wall in your office. And I really like what Einstein says here, significant problems we face cannot be solved at the same level of thinking that we were at when we created them. We've got to come up with new ways in a new environment and take advantage of it as well. This slide, and again, I'll share this in the jump start kit I'll give you. Did a lot of research on virtual and remote workers. Some of you have had remote workers for years. Even like I know Seymour Milling Company has 3 locations, 3 mills. I mean, those are remote workers, if you will. They're not all at the headquarters. I worked for health systems that had multiple locations. But what does it mean when you have someone working at home? Some of your employees aren't going to want to come back. They kind of like that they don't have a commute in the morning, driving from maybe Edgar County to Effingham County. They like that, you know, they're not spending a lot of money on gas and on and on. So there are a lot of benefits to virtual workers. There's also some challenges, and you have to pay attention to that. Don't just assume because someone's worked at home for 6 weeks that you're going to keep, you know, Jimmy or Susie or Maggie working at home. You need to put things in place as if they worked in your own building and work on that. The excellent book, and I'll also include this reference. A gentleman named Kevin Sheridan wrote this actually a number of years ago, and it's really an amazing book if you think of today's world, called The Virtual Manager. The Virtual Manager by Kevin Sheridan. A lot of good information in there on this. So again, I'm not going to read through this slide, but some good things for you to keep aware of. So I've covered a lot and I've gone rather quickly. We've got, like I said, about 40 questions that are excellent for you to take time to work at in a work session with your leadership team, your managers. We're going to actually do that next Thursday with the Leaders Advisory Board. I've got a core set of questions we're going to work through there, so those men and women can work through for their businesses, how they want to move forward. But this is a challenge for you, everybody on the call and on the webinar and on the video, is to write down for yourself, as you've listened to the last 40 minutes or so far, what actions do you want to take for you or your business? And then set a date for those actions, or when you're going to make that happen. When are you going to follow through? And what I put here is for you 4 things. Identify 1 in each category, at least for yourself. Excuse me. 1 thing you're going to add because of what you've learned so far the last 6 to 8 weeks. Add to your business, add to your services, whatever it is. Maybe you're going to add partitions between people that work in your bank. Okay, well, that's something you're going to add, and maybe it's smart too, I don't know. 1 thing you're going to change. 1 thing you're going to toss, something you're going to stop doing. You finally get yourself to realize, why am I always doing this? Or why is that box always there? Or why do we have the workflow going this way? Something you're just going to toss and stop doing it. It's not vital to your success. And lastly, 1 thing you're going to keep. When I say 1 thing you're going to keep, something you're going to keep intentionally. A service, a product, a program, a process, an employee, whatever it might be. Something that you know, this is so valuable. It has risen to the top. This really shines. I'm going to make sure I keep that in my life, in my business, whatever that would be. So really encourage you to take some time and write these down for yourself. Set a date. When you set a date on a goal and you write it down, most studies say anywhere from 150 to 300% more success you will have in achieving that. If you want even more success, share it with somebody that you work with or your spouse. Say, hey, I wrote these things down. I'm going to do this by, May 21st or July 17th or whatever it is. Ask that person to hold you accountable. You will be so successful. And now is a great time because we all need quick wins. We need little wins. We need successes. We don't just need a longer to-do list because I'm worried about what I have to do when I get back to work or when my people come back or when my customers come back or whatever it might be. Sorry, just looking here, make sure I didn't skip anything. This is a summary for you. As we talked a lot this morning, and I hope I haven't spoken too quickly. I actually wrote a white paper a few weeks ago about giving these types of webinars. I said speak slowly, and I know I'm excited to share all this with you and keeping my eye on the clock, so hopefully I haven't talked too quickly for you. But here's a summary for you. First is you want to assess the situation, and you got to start with yourself. How are you doing? What are you doing? How can you help yourself? Be the leader that you want to be the leader you are and that you deserve to be. And then assess the environment around you. You know, do you have jumper cables? Are they good ones? Do you have the team support that you need to move forward? Then look at a SWOT analysis. Look at your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities and threats, and brainstorm. I suggest with a small trusted core of people. You know, and again, your companies vary widely. So look at, you know, who are those people, your senior leadership team, your board, if you have a peer group of others, you know, start there. Really start challenging. And the reason I say a trusted group is because this thing, this gremlin that lives in our head or on our shoulder or behind us, says no a lot. Likes to say, you can't do that. That's crazy. You're silly. That's insane. Why would you do that? We did that before, or we've always done it this way. Those voices, they're okay, but you want to set them aside. So you want people that will tell you like it is, the brutal facts, why something will work, why something won't work, but also give you an opportunity to test it, to try it out, experiment, mess around a little bit. One of my first hospitals I worked at when I was in Chicago, I was an assistant administrator. When I started there, they built the first brand new hospital in Chicago in decades. This is back in the 70s, so decades ago now. But the sisters, it was a religious order of women who ran that hospital. When they were working to design that hospital, they actually cleared out an entire floor of the former hospital and built mock patient rooms. And they had nurses and therapists and transporters and family members as mock visitors test it out to see what's the best flow, where's the best place to put an electric outlet on the wall when you're plugging in an IV pump. I mean, it was amazing what they did. We mimicked some of those things at St. Anthony's when I was here at our hospital. Eventually, we renovated every floor inside that building using some of those techniques. Testing, experimenting is so valuable. Because once you build a wall, it's really expensive to move it. So try things out. Have fun with it too. And be focused on where you're going and why you're doing that. Work to really reimagine your vision, set your strategies in a broad direction. You don't know if we're going to have a vaccine in 6 months, in a year, how quickly it'll be produced. So be broad in your direction. As you learn more, we know more, you can begin to hone that in and get more and more focused and more clear with your team. Communicating all the time. Make decisions, take actions, and communicate. Make sure your employees, your customers know what's going on. Of course, create a safe place for everyone. I shouldn't say of course. We've got to reinforce it over and over, and that's going to vary based on your work environment. But we need to keep everybody safe. You know, hats off to everybody for what we've done the last number of months, because we have obviously kept each other safe. Very few cases in this part of the state. That's due to your work, your sacrifice, your struggles. But then execute on those plans. Once you put a plan in place, now's the time to execute. Begin moving forward as clearly as you can. And then be open to others' help. Don't do it alone. You don't have to. So be open to help, look for help, ask for help. And in closing, really want to just, again, reinforce that, and there's my email address if you didn't get it earlier. I'm happy to send you that Jumpstart guide. I'll send it out tomorrow or Saturday, so you won't have to wait very long for it. Just have a couple tweaks to it. As I've gotten some feedback from other businesses, I've talked to a lot of area businesses, what they're learning, what they've done. What they've done that they like, what they've done that they want to change.
Right, short. Yeah.
But your car is full now. You've got a full tank of gas. You've got, it's running, the engine's charged, the battery's charged up. You're ready to go. You're putting your map together. But you still have to drive it as a leader. So keep working hard. This is just the beginning of what the new normal is going to be and what it's going to look like. I also put on your screen there a couple activities or functions that I have coming up. The Leaders Advisory Board meets next week, and our Emerging Leader Institute. The following week will actually, our full day training workshop is focused on change, which is interesting because I wrote that curriculum last summer. We started it. That just happened to be what was scheduled for this month, and it's quite a dynamic workshop we'll be having together. And also, if you're a not-for-profit organization, I've been very thrilled that I've been picking up on this. I've been doing some complimentary coaching this month for some of our not-for-profits, those leaders, those executives, to help them be successful. And that wonderful photo you see on your screen, if I could reach, just the end of my desk there, that's what I get to see. Is I also have been working from home, working remotely. My bride, Angela, is a professor at Lakeland College. This is her working on an algebra class, getting ready. And to her right is our trusted assistant, Riley, our little Yorkshire Terrier. So we've been, like you, learning to deal with changes, and I think it'll continue to work well. But please stay safe. And I really like that quote I had on the last slide by Pope Francis. So important. Life grows by being given away and weakens in isolation and comfort. So continue to connect, continue to be visible on video calls. That's why they're called video calls. We need to see each other. Thank you very much. And I'll turn it back to Norma or Kristen for any questions. We have a couple minutes left.
Please enter them in the chat box now, right now. And we don't have any questions, but it was very excellent information, and good for us to remember that, we are not alone, and we do have people that we trusted, people that we can reach out to and help us get through this challenging time. And so thank you very much. I wanted to mention, and thank you, mentioned it early, that we appreciate Dent Law Office being our sponsor of today's webinar. And I wanted to remind you about the Chamber's COVID-19 resource page on our website at FEM. We're adding information, not every day, but several times a week. We're adding new information as it becomes available, information that we think is important for our businesses to have. And we've always, our goal all along is looking at trusted information from reliable sources. There's a lot of things you can look at, a lot of commentary that you can read that sounds very official, but really is somebody's opinion. So please take a look at that. I mentioned in the chat box, we're looking for ideas. We plan to continue offering these webinars every Thursday. We don't have one yet lined up for next week. We'll have that before the end of this week. And then, but on the following week, we will have an HR roundtable discussion for anybody that has HR questions they want to have answered. It'll be very open. There's no planned presentation. It's just a matter of being able to connect and talk about what HR issues everybody's having. So that's, we appreciate your time today. We wish you well. Get out and enjoy some of the nice weather today. It sounds like it's going to be very rainy for a while. So thank you all. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thanks, everyone. Again, thank you, Norma.
Thank you, Dan.